Yeah, we are live.
Once Bill Gates said, and I quote, I choose a lazy person to do a job because he or she will find a easy way to do it. I believe Flutter came through this way only. Jokes apart, Flutter have eased out the job of so many developers out there because it has combined the work of two things in one. Flutter has given both Android developers and Android iOS developers a way out to do the code with one code base. With this warm intro, I'd like to welcome you all to the Flutter Festival 2022. We are hosting this event in collaboration with NIT Kurukshetra, GDSC NIT Kurukshetra, GDSC Galgotias University, GDSC Dr. Sudhir Chandrasoor Institute of Technology, GDSC BBSBEC, GDSC GEC BSP, GDSC SIT Pune, GDSC NLJIET, GDSC TKR College of Engineering and Technology, GDSC NITJ, GDSC UPES, and GDSC GMR Institute of Technology. I would also like to thank Code Flow for providing us with this platform to conduct today's event. I would also like to welcome all the organizers, that is Andrila Das from GDSC, Dr. Sudhir Chandrasoor Institute of Technology, Harsh Chabra from GDSC NIT Kurukshetra, and Naman Khan from GDSC Galgotias University. I would like all of you to introduce yourself and give a warm note to all the audience present here.
So hello everyone, and a very good evening to all of you. And it's a pleasure to be here and organizing Flutter festivals in collaboration with the Code Flow organization. And to those who don't know me, and like for them, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Oindrila Das, and I'm a third year CS undergrad student from Dr. Sudhi Chandrashur Institute of Technology, which is located in Kolkata, India. And like apart from that, I'm very much interested in meeting people and making friends with like-minded people who are from different diverse backgrounds, and I'm part of different communities all around the globe which support diversity and inclusion. And I'm really honored to be nominated in the first cohort of the Google Cloud Champion Innovators, and which is basically considering my Google Cloud expertise and the community involvement which I have. It's been 1 year and 4 months since I joined the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors community, and presently I'm a Gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. Apart from that, I'm a postman student leader and serving the community for helping the cause of making students API literate. And of course, I have started the Google Developer Student Clubs at my campus a year back, and since then, it's been a wonderful journey. I have learned a lot while being a part of these communities, and like be it leadership skills or technical expertise. The more I say, it would be really lesser to express my gratitude towards these, people who are around me and helping me. So, like, if you also want to be a part of these things, experience these kind of things, it's never too late. You can be a part of these communities too. You can also stay connected with me and join the GDSC campus, like GDSC, DSC, SIT, and I'm sharing a link in the chat box so that you all can join. So I hope I have introduced myself enough, and it's time to focus on the Flutter festivals. And I hope that we will be able to bring, the best experience in getting to know about Flutter from the very basics to all of you. Also, like we are having a very special guest with us today, and Ashima will introduce her to all of you. And really can't wait to be, getting the beautiful insights from her. And I hope like all of you are equally excited as I am. So without a further ado, I would invite Noman to introduce himself. and then we will move towards our session. So, Noman.
Good evening, everyone. Myself Numan Khan from GDCGU, which is Galgotia University. I am a third year student in from Galgotia University. I am an open source enthusiast. I am not so social person as a Fantilla because I'm not active in so much communities, but I am much inclined towards open source and all. I am also a Flutter developer since last 1 year and just building apps with Flutter. Over to Ashima.
So, talking so much about diversity and inclusion, a very happy Women's Day to Andrila and our speaker that will be joining us. So, we should begin with the introduction of Ma'am. Divismita Sarkar will be our speaker for today's Flutter Festival event. So, Ma'am is currently working with Unicards and she is at a post of SG2. She have been a front-end developer since past 6 years, and she's working as she was an early adapter of Flutter. She has developed and shipped more than 8 applications of Flutter, and she's very passionate about giving tech talks and have given tech talks in variant events including DevFest 21 and Google I/O Extend. In her free time, she creates content to help the community. GDSC NIT Kurukshetra, GDSC Galgotias University, and GDSC Sudhir Chandrasur Institute of Technology would like to welcome you, ma'am, and we'll appreciate if you'll introduce yourself.
Hi, you have given a very good introduction. Hi, I'm Devashmita, and I'll be kind of introducing you to Flutter if you are not a complete beginner or something. I want this session to be a little interactive. Before I start, if you want to give in the comments that what you are expecting and what is your level in Flutter, that would be actually pretty great. Starting with Noman, right? So you started Flutter, right? So do you like how? What is your expertise? How do you feel
Uh,
about it, and what do you expect from this session?
Good evening, ma'am. So I started Flutter last year, Feb, at the peak time of GSOC. I was very confused, what tech stack I choose. Then I started Flutter, and I just stuck there. And since last 1 year, I'm here only. Uh, I am doing front end. I have done an internship in Flutter for 3 months at a startup called Stevens Immersive Studio. Uh, I was the only Flutter intern at there. I built the whole app alone. So I basically work on front end and a bit of Firebase integration and all. Not so much backend, but mostly front end.
How long did it take for you to sort of uh, start Flutter, like start
Uh,
applications?
Initially, it took me around 10-20 days to learn the basics, like how it works and all. Then I started building basic apps my portfolio sort of thing. Then I used to BMI calculator and all. Then I am working on my own project, which is very close to me, but it is not completed yet. Will reveal soon.
Cool, cool. So I can see a lot of comments. So mostly people are beginners. So I'll start with that level only. So let me share my screen and also tell me if it is visible and if you can see the screen.
Sure.
Can you see this?
Yeah, let me add it to the stream. Yeah,
Yes, it
it's
is
visible.
visible now.
Okay, cool. So let's begin with it. So I have seen a lot of comments saying, I don't know about Flutter. What is it? Just explain. We'll explain like what is Flutter and how you can proceed and why should you learn Flutter, all this stuff, right? So you can see all these applications, right? So what do you think is these are different platforms, right? So if you see this is a mobile app, This one is probably application which is running on car dashboard, right? These are all are different. So this is a website. This one is probably desktop or probably running on iPad or something. So all these applications are written in Flutter, and let's say this app, right? So you have created something like this, and you want to run the same code base in the car dashboard. It can be possible. So Flutter is a framework which actually enables you to build a lot of applications with single code base, and the code base can be run in different platforms, right? So before I even begin, let me tell you something else. So can you see this logo, and can you recognize what is this logo? I can't see the comments, so any one of you can tell me, like, what do you think? What is this logo for? So this is actually Google Pay application. So and if you see this, this is Dream 11. So all these applications you see here, these are all built in Flutter. So earlier, Google Pay used to be on native platform, like in different apps for iOS and Android. But later, they have shifted the application to Flutter, so that they have a single code base, right? So just I was telling you, right? So Flutter is a framework with, through which you can build different type of applications. But the main sort of pro for this is the application that you build can be run on web, can be run on desktops, any other platform you think, Windows phone also, even it can be run as a desktop application, right? So even if you have Mac, you can run the app on Mac as a as an application. So that is the power of Flutter. So these are these advantages of Flutter, like one framework for all devices. And if you see like the applications that are built with Flutter, you would be seeing that the performance is pretty good. Even if you see Dream 11 or the Google Pay, right? So these applications are actually pretty they deal with pretty heavy traffic per day, but I have seen like these applications work very smoothly. So all these things can be done with Flutter. So whatever cool UI you see, all those things can be done pixel perfectly in Flutter. Talking about native performance, I would sort of tell you a little bit about cross-platform and native app development. So, if you are not familiar with it, let's say you have a Android phone and you have iOS phone, right? So, all these devices, they actually understand different kind of languages, right? So Android device would be understanding like Kotlin or Java, and iOS would be understanding C++ or Swift language, right? Now let's say you want to create like in earlier, before even cross-platform applications, frameworks came, right? So either you could be an Android developer or you could be a iOS developer, and if you are both, then it's great actually. Now native apps have different sort of advantages. Let's say I want to build an Android application right now. The main thing that I'll gain advantage for is I can access those hardwares. I can make use of all the CPU cores or whatever there is. I can make use of those. I can make use of maps, camera, all this like hardware very easily. So when it comes to cross-platform development, what happens is now in terms if you are writing code in Dart, right, which is the language of Flutter. So then you are not writing code either in Java or in Swift or C++, right? So now the prediction actually is that if you're writing code in different language, the performance wouldn't be that good. So at Flutter actually, if you see Flutter apps, the performance are actually pretty good. It's not that bad compared to other cross-platform applications. As you can totally understand that with Flutter you have to write less code, because like when you're having one code base only, then you don't have to deal with two different teams for a single application, right? So either you can totally have one team responsible for all the things, all the features, releases, everything. That in this way actually the productivity increases, and there are a lot of sort of data. If you see, so if you see Google Pay, right? So when they shifted to Flutter, they almost 70% productivity increased. So you can find all those data in flutter.dev for different applications actually. And as I was talking to Roman, right? So he started creating Flutter applications around when he started learning, right? So after 20 days he started creating those applications, so it's pretty easy to learn. If you have any questions till now, you can just let me know, Noman or Indrila. You guys can tell me if there is anything on the comment section.
Yeah, ma'am. There's no question in the comments yet. If I see any questions, I'll let you know.
Sure, sure. So yeah, let's move ahead. So I would be comparing a little bit about React Native architecture to Flutter, and you can understand what actually you are doing behind the scene, right? So let me talk about Flutter first. So what happens is, let's say this is your device, right? So this is the device you play with. Let's say this is an Android device, so it has a lot of stuff, like it has location services, Bluetooth, all the services that you can see, right? Also it has a canvas, and some sort of events are also there, because when you interact with the device, it does something, right? And the canvas is there. Let's say if you are let's say running WhatsApp, right, you can see something on the canvas, so that's there. So this is your device. Now a Flutter application, how will it work, right? So Flutter application is you'd be writing your application here. Now after you have written the application, so if you try to run this application, let's say this is a Android device, right? So this device would be understanding only Java or Kotlin. So now if you tell it to understand Dart, it won't understand, right? So what you'll have to do is, your app has to convert itself to some machine language or whatever this device understands, right? So whenever you're writing code in Dart, which is the language like we write code in Flutter, right? When you are compiling that application, that will actually become an APK or an IPA, depending on like whatever platform you are creating the build for. So Flutter application has all this stuff in built. So inside the framework itself you have sort of widgets. Widgets are, let's say if you see a form, right? So you have, let's say, doing login in any application, so you're writing your email ID, your password, all this stuff, right? So all these small components are widgets in Flutter. So all these widgets combined is that there are a lot of widgets there in Flutter framework itself. So all these widgets reside there inside Flutter framework, and then there is this platform portion. This platform portion would be actually talking to your location, all the services, Bluetooth or anything. If you need something, let's say my application needs to see. Let's say I'm trying to create a clone of Uber, right? Then I need to access the map. So this platform portion of my framework would be talking to this location services in the device and getting this location would be giving me some data, and I can show that, right? So this portion if, is your Flutter application, right? Now if you notice something, let's compare this to React Native architecture, which is a pretty good competitor in terms of Flutter, right? Cross platform development. So if you see this architecture, if I compare these two, all these widgets and UI components were there itself inbuilt in the Flutter framework, right? Now, if you see the React Native framework, this framework is what it is doing is it is borrowing all the UI components from platform itself, right? Or basically the device itself. Now, a small example would be, let's say, if you have both iOS and Android phone, right? You would be seeing, so if you open up camera, sorry, if you open up calendar, in iOS it would look a little different, and in Android actually it would look a little different. So in your Android device, the calendar component would be residing here. And what React Native does is it actually borrows all these components and actually makes use of this inside the framework itself, right? It doesn't have anything which is inbuilt. Now, if you notice this bridge, right? So as I was telling that in Flutter, when you are compiling your application, it's already an APK. So you have like your device actually does not know if you have built the app in Flutter or you have provided it a native application, right? So but when you are writing code in React Native, right? So what happens is you, there is a bridge in between. So whatever you write in JavaScript. So and this bridge is there responsible for, kind of, it acts as a translator. So it actually like does compiles all this JavaScript code, talks changes this JavaScript code to whatever this device or platform understands, and whatever this platform like gives back as a response, it takes that, translate it, and gives back to your code which is in JavaScript. So there is a delay in between, because every time you do that, there has to be a bridge which actually sits in between and does all the work. So if I talk about performance, Flutter is better because it doesn't have a bridge to every time to talk to and to translate everything. Because if you see Dart, so we will be using like Dart in Flutter, right? So Dart is a language which has two type of compiler, right? So it has ahead of time compiler. The compiler actually takes all the code in Dart, and it actually compiles it to the machine language. So that's why it's a little faster than React Native, right? And also the learning curve is good nowadays. Like if you are familiar with C sharp or Java or JavaScript, even, it would be very easy to move to Dart because the syntaxes are same. So we'll be doing the Dart session tomorrow. So like you can understand the syntaxes would be like pretty similar. I actually started doing like I was switching from JavaScript to Dart, and I did that in like 2-3 days. I was familiar with the syntaxes. And also, like if you see Flutter as a framework has, I was talking about the small UI components, right? All the UI components are built inside the framework itself, right? So whatever you want, you can, let's say you have so much customized component from your designer, right? So whatever you want, you can design those in Flutter itself. But in case of React Native, whatever components are available inside the platform, you have to make use of that. You cannot use other widgets like the UI components, because those are borrowed, right? So these are some advantages of Flutter. So let me move ahead. Also, this would be a little I would say heavy on the technical part, but bear with me. This is like I try to make sure that's pretty easy to understand, right? Let's start with this engine layer, right? We'll talk about it later, this embedded layer. So, as like everything has a, like every framework has has an engine, right? So the engine would be so there would be, as I was saying, that Flutter is using Dart language, right? So all this behind the scenes stuff like rendering to canvas, painting, all this stuff, and also talking to your like device services like location services or Bluetooth or anything else, right? All these things the engine does behind the scene, so there is no change. So let's say you want to run your application in iOS or Android or anywhere else, right? So this engine would be pretty much same, like there is no change in the engine layer. Now, I'll come to this later. Now let's talk about this layer. So after the engine layer, now let's say when you start creating any application, right? So let's say I want to. So the first thing that you create in any application would be your login page. So let's take example of that only. So to create login page, you need something, some like widget, some text sort of thing where you would be entering your email ID, you'd be entering your password, and there should be a button to submit all this, right? So all these things would be visible to you, right? So you can you can see those, and you can add those things, right? So all this thing that you see here would be residing inside widget layer, right? So your where you be entering the let's say your email ID, that can be a text widget, so that would be residing this layer inside this. Now this widget layer is divided into two parts. One is material and another one is Cupertino. So these are dependent on material is actually for Android. So there are specific Android widgets, just like I said for calendar, right? So Android calendar would be seen here. iOS calendar you actually would be seeing inside Cupertino. So mostly all these are widget layer. Now, if you go a little below, there is some rendering layer. So whatever you are like you have in your like whatever you're seeing, that should be rendering somewhere, right? So the rendering layer actually does that. And after that there are painting gestures, all this stuff. So mostly when you are like writing any application, you'd be dealing with these two layers. And sometimes when you are creating animation, then animation, and like sometimes painting layer if you are creating very customized widgets, right? This one you would very rarely would be dealing with. So and Flutter has Skia engine as a sort of it renders there. All the widgets that you see, it would be rendering there, and that would be getting rendered on your device. So this would be pretty like you would relate to it when you would be starting the Flutter framework. You'd be seeing the code, then you can relate it a little better. So now talking about this layer, right, the embedded layer. So this actually is platform specific that you can see. So let's say I want to, like, these two are there already. Now I want to plug my application to let's say web. So I want to run it on any browser, right? So this embedded layer would be web specific at that time. Now I want this to run it on iOS or Android, then this changes actually. Also, in terms of desktop, any other applications, right? So this layer would be changing. These two would be same. So I hope you understood a little bit, but mostly you'd be understanding when you are trying out, and you have the code base, like you download Flutter and have the code base ready. Cool. So I'll be moving ahead to a little bit of the roadmap of Flutter. So so like this entire thing, right? To do this entire thing, you would be probably needing like 1.5 months, 1.5 months actually, 90 days, sorry, 45 days, right? To learn Flutter, you have to start with Dart because that's the language you'd be writing code in. So to learn Dart, the syntax it would be very familiar. As I think that, but yeah, it can take time. So I think you can give at least 4 5 days to Dart so that you know or understand the syntaxes. Then you can go ahead and download the example application, and set up the code base and download Flutter and everything. So after that, if you when you are like when you download the example application, that is a counter application, you can just interact with it, you can see the data is changing and all this stuff. And there also, like, you would be seeing the sort of how a Flutter app runs, from where you are seeing the data, how this is interacting with your device. So all this stuff probably would take 1 2 days, and then you can take, like, the best way to start Flutter would be to sort of create some beautiful UI design so that it's catchy, and also you will get some sort of satisfaction. Because like when you try to learn a new technology, right, the beginning days are a little hard because you're not familiar with it, and also the language would be different if you are not already familiar with Dart. Like, the best thing would be to create some eye catchy stuff so that you are even satisfied. I would recommend to sort of pick anything from Dribble, and try to mimic that. After so probably this would take like 3 4 days or something. Then you go ahead, and you're like, after 3 4 days, I'm sure you'd be bored seeing some UI stuff, and you want all this to be sort of dynamic, right? So for that, you need to like, attach your app to some API calls. So best thing would be, if you are not familiar with backend, or like, you can start sort of creating your database, and start using Firebase, because it's pretty easy to learn that. And if you don't want to do that, and if you're just trying out, and you don't have anything in mind that my application should be this way only, then you can try out some already available APIs, like for building, let's say, movie application, building news application, anything. All those APIs are available. You can just log in, get the key, and try like interacting with the APIs. So it would take probably like 2 3 days maximum to, like, do this, and probably a week to do these two both, right? So, like, first week you should do this, second week this is like pretty fine. So after that, you need to little bit know about state management. So state management is actually the login thing that I was talking about, right? So once you are logged in your application, you can see your user ID, username, anything throughout the application. So that's sort of a state that you are maintaining throughout your application, even if you are changing your email ID, your name, profile name, anything, right? Those data you are maintaining throughout the application. So that sort of state management you need to understand. So there are a lot of state managements. The best thing to start with would be, so Flutter inbuilt has a local state management, which is set state, but that is not recommended to use when you are creating a very big application, right? But you can start with that because you are just trying out. And then the easier thing would be to start with provider, which is a app state management library. So this would take, like, if you want to try it out and understand very deeply, this would take actually a week. Then mostly till here, if you have done, you can probably have a full-fledged application ready with you. now, if we are dealing with like already API calls which are available on the market, right? Then connecting with database. So sometimes if you see if you don't have even internet connection, especially on Facebook or Instagram, if you turn off your Wi-Fi or mobile data, right, you would be still seeing some content on the application because they have all those content available in your local database inside your app, right? So to you need to understand that how to connect with the database, how to store those data, how to fetch those. So this would be actually pretty much needed going ahead. Then this is actually native API. So native APIs are something that I was talking about, right? Let's say Bluetooth access, location access, camera access, all those native API calls. How to do those and how to use those in your application, that is pretty much needed. So these are actually some thing that you need to know, but at the same time you can practice all of this and learn in terms of, let's say you like when you were starting, right? You have done till state management. Now your app needs to access camera, so you'd be accessing camera, not maps, right? So over the time, when you're trying out different examples, you're creating different application, you'd be knowing all this stuff. So after you have done till here, so like if you are creating a pet project, then you don't care about architecture that much, right? But when you are working in a company, so then you'd be creating a very good code base, so that like it's very easy to maintain that, right? And over that time, like down the line, 5 years, 10 years, your code would be that much flexible, right? So you need to know a little bit about architecture. It's not only like needed on Flutter, it's needed on anything else also. Then you have to know a little bit about testing, because like whatever you're writing, you need to do those unit testing, and it's pretty useful, and it's actually very much needed, right? So after that, when you are working in a very big team, then CI/CD is needed, where you have to create the build continuously. You're creating build, you're giving it to QA at the same time. So all these things. So you can start from here and till here. Probably would take like a month and a half. And then the like you can start like you can try out different examples, different designs from dribble, which would be like, if there are animations and all, you would it would take a little bit of time to for you to understand and how things are working. So yeah, those are some additional stuff. So I will be moving ahead. And so now I have talked about what is Flutter, what it does, where you are what should be your roadmap, right? Now where to learn from. So the best resource for you would be to go to flutter.dev. They have very good documentation. They have nice examples also. So like before you even start out, you can check out different applications. They have developer stories. You can check those out, how much Flutter actually saves a lot of production time. So you can check those out and be excited, then start with Flutter, right? So they have very good documentation, you can check those out. And also they have documentation of different level of learners, right? From beginner to intermediate to expert level. And let's say you want to learn about some specific stuff, then you can try out some code labs. All those links are there inside flutter.dev only, so you can try those out. Then let's say, like, I would recommend you to start with all these two, and then try out your applications. And now let's say in your application when you're building it, right, you're stuck in somewhere and you want some little help, then you can actually go to the Medium blogs by Flutter community. So there is a so if you open up Medium, there is a channel of Flutter community where all the members are posting all the learnings that they had over the time, over their experience, right? Then Flutter's own YouTube channel is pretty handy. You'd be seeing a lot of small videos, and also some of the videos that some release videos where they have done alpha release, and big releases and all this stuff you would be seeing. Also, there is something called widget of the week, where every week they'll be posting about some widget, and that's probably within like a minute or something. So that's actually pretty useful. So if you like, these two are also pretty helpful, because I have learned a lot of things from community YouTube channels. You can find very good YouTube channels where you can actually learn from scratch to from very beginner to expert level from these YouTube channels. And if you are not satisfied with all of these, then you can go over to Udemy and take any of the courses available. So these would be the learning, like you can learn from this, starting from like here. Cool. Do you guys have any question?
Yeah, ma'am. I can see lot of questions in the chat box. So,
Sure, I'll stop share. Or like I have one slide left. Like I'll talk about this and then we'll go ahead to Q&A, right?
yeah, yeah, that will be fine.
Cool. So I wanted to talk about Flutter's popularity, right? So over the time, actually Flutter become pretty popular. So I started around 2018 middle. So then even Flutter did not, so there was this very early release Flutter had, and Flutter has come a very long way. They have made Flutter very good. I can see a lot of people are trying out Flutter now, and a lot of companies are also using Flutter. So in 2021, this is the data. So these are all cross-platform development application frameworks, right? I was comparing this with React Native, which is still pretty popular. And this React Native actually started pretty early, I think around 2015, if I'm not wrong. So pretty early they started. Until 2020 also, React Native was more popular in the developers in cross-platform community. But in 2021, Flutter has become more popular than React Native in the community. And if you see the GitHub stars, it's 137. I think it's counting, and it's more than that when I took the data. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. So nowadays, popularity of Flutter is actually growing. A lot of companies are using Flutter, and like you can see, try to check out the developer stories that I was talking about, right? So you'd be seeing that why companies are adopting Flutter, right? Most of the things are like, when you are coming from a company's perspective, right? It's very difficult to sort of have two different applications, two different team to create one application, which is, let's say right now Android team is ready to do the release, but iOS team is not. There is some issue, right? So then you have to wait. You cannot sort of release this, Android people will be having some new feature, iOS people won't have that. And also, let's say you nowadays the applications are quite user driven, right? So let's say I wanted a feature and then I released it, but the user is not liking it. So I have to be like doing the iteration. I have to go to the development, change the feature, and then release it so quickly. To do that, and maintaining two different team, two different code bases is actually very it's very hard. So that's why the main thing, companies are using Flutter. And also, one more thing is, like, when you are getting same performance as native applications, you are seeing different very cool UIs, then there is no point going back to native development. So these are some of the pointers to choose for Flutter. So yeah, I'll be stop sharing my screen, and let's do the if you have any question, then you can ask me.
Yeah, ma'am. There are so many questions in the chat, and people are waiting to you to answer these questions. So
Sure.
I'll begin with the first question. This is from Milind Pawar, and he's asking how much time does it take to switch from Java or Kotlin to Flutter, and is it easier for people who are already into development and who have already built some apps on Android Studio to work with Flutter?
From switching from Java to Dart won't take much time because that Java is already like it's a pretty strongly typed language. Dart is the same also. And in terms of let's say like if you are already familiar with Android app development, right? So you have to keep this in mind, right? When you are just not a Flutter developer, right? You are becoming a mobile app developer. So little bit of knowledge of Android operating system and iOS is also needed. So if you have that understanding, then it's actually pretty good.
The next question says that when we are applying for a internship or a job, is Flutter the like sufficient language, and is there anything else that we need to know in our development section?
So when you are applying for a company where you are like there is Flutter as a they have chosen Flutter as a mobile app development technology, right? So if you know a little bit of Flutter, that's good, but then you have to know all the things that goes behind it, right? So you have to know like some little bit of data structure if the company is demanding it, little bit of how the things are working, what are the REST API calls, little bit about operating system questions. So it's overall package. So even if I would say if you are like applying for an internship, if you're not even expert in Flutter and you're beginner or intermediate, then that's fine because you are applying for internship to learn there, right?
The next question is by Sahab Hashmi, and he's asking, does state management in Flutter involve concepts same as Redux and Ngrs? RX? So this is the
Uh,
question.
Yes, there is something called RX Start in Flutter, which deals with all this, and also there is a package called Redux also, which probably you'd be using in React Native. It's the same concept. So if you are familiar with or if you want to use Redux, then you can use that. Like that's fine. That's actually pretty good.
The next question is Flutter better than React? And can we include coding with Python in Flutter? So these are the two questions that came from the same person.
Okay, so is it better than React? So React JS is a web development technology. Now, when they came up with React Native, right? So what happened was you can write some code in React JS, and let's say, and you are writing code in React Native, right? So you can have like in the like you can have little bit of like let's say 50 something percent code sharing between React JS web application and React Native as a mobile development application. But in Flutter, let's say you're writing code in Flutter, that can be 100% shared in you don't have to do anything else. Like you just write code in Flutter, and that will be running in web, or that will be running in like mobile devices, right? So you don't have to do any setup, anything else. Isn't that better?
So yeah, like very great insight about that question. So the next question is, what is better, USB debugging or emulator?
Okay, so before that, also, like I wanted to answer another question. We cannot use Python in Flutter because the language that we write, like it's inbuilt languages Dart only, so you cannot use Python. Okay, so what is better emulator? USB or USB? Acha, what is better emulator or USB debugging, right? So let's say you are building like features like you are accessing map or you're accessing location or camera or battery percentage or anything else, then USB debugging is better because sometimes emulator doesn't support those, but all the like other times emulator is better in the sense like it's quite handy. You don't have to plug in the mobile every time and see it. Also you can check in different sizes of emulator so that like you can see if you are creating a responsive application which runs in every devices, right? So most of the time I use emulator, almost 90% time. If I have some device specific stuff or native APIs I'm calling, then I only use USB debugging.
Next question is from Yash, and he's asking, could you please suggest some best courses on Udemy from where one can start learning Flutter?
Okay, so I actually, when I started Flutter, I took the Maximilian's course. That actually gave me a little bit of everything on Flutter. But then also if you would be, let's say like after you have gone through the course, right? You would be seeing that you have learned a little bit of everything, but when you are trying to do some customized stuff, you have to learn on your own. So this can give you a little bit of heads up, but not also there is a channel from Rizzo Coder in YouTube. You can follow that channel. So that person is from Flutter community itself, and he actually creates pretty good deep stuff on Flutter. Like you'd be but I would recommend that start that after some time, like after, let's say, you are familiar with little bit of Dart and Flutter.
The next question is again about the emulator. So the person is asking how to improve OS performance while using the emulator.
OS performance, I did not understand this question, but like if you are talking about, let's say, like at any point of time, if you want to understand your performance of your app performance, how the app is performing, you can run it on profile mode, and you can check in Android Studio. Also, there is a sort of tool. You can see how much RAM you are consuming, what is your frames per second you are running your animation, or maybe you're running your frames. So you can check those out. Like if you are seeing that your app is lagging, then you would be able to know like when at exactly at what point of time your app is lagging.
The next question is switching from Java to Flutter easy?
I would say like tomorrow there is a dart session, right? You just I say just join there and try to see if you can understand dart a little bit, because from my perspective I think it's quite easy, because both are object oriented, both are strongly typed language. So I think it would be like quite easy.
Again, this one question comparing React Native and Flutter. So, what are the benefits of Flutter over React Native? Anjali is asking.
So I actually have gone through this. As a summary, I can tell that since React Native, the main thing that differs is Flutter have a lot of widgets inbuilt, so that like whatever your designer is giving you, right? So let's say if I go to Dribble, there are a lot of designs that you'll be seeing which are pretty cool. And when you try to I have tried React Native. I used to work in a company where I had to code in React Native, right? So now, like when I started doing Flutter, I did not want to go back. So I was like, can't we change the technology in the project? I don't want to write code in React Native, because it actually, when you try out Flutter, right, you'd be seeing a lot of performance improvements. And also like when you're trying to write the UIs, right, it's quite difficult to write very customizable UI in React Native rather than Flutter. So in Flutter, those are pretty handy. You can just quickly write whatever design you can see. So that is actually a sort of pro. And also the performance that I was talking about, since Flutter has Dart, it actually compiles everything to APK or IPA before even you run the application on your device. So that actually gives you quite a heads up on performance.
The next question says is basically the person is asking what is the future of Flutter and like do it promise a good job?
Okay. So do you? Okay. So let's say I start learning Flutter and I don't know anything else. So would I get a good job? I don't think so. But let's say you have started Flutter. You know a little bit of operating system. You know a little bit here and there. Your computer science course or whatever course you have learned in college. You know all these concepts. You know little bit of data structure, and you go for an internship or maybe you go for a job, and then it's not that difficult to crack the interview actually. And compared to 2018, nowadays lot of companies are like offering like using Flutter, so offering jobs in Flutter. uh, Also, like I would really recommend you to try your hands on freelancing, because like I have seen a lot of freelancing opportunities nowadays. Just write Flutter freelancing opportunities in Google, it'd be getting lots and lots of opportunities. And you can try one out, and sort of also before that, create some applications, publish those application in in App Store or Play Store, right? So that when your client is asking for some, let's say some experience, you can like explain those projects, or you can give a link to them saying that these are the things that I have done. Same goes for any job interviews nowadays. Like whatever you write in resume doesn't actually matter what your experiences are. And even if you write some links on your resume, and like whatever application you have published, right, that's actually good. So yeah, yeah. So yeah.
The next question is interconnected, and the person is asking like how much time will it take to learn Flutter, and like to what level we can learn Flutter to get a good placement.
Okay. Cool. So, how much time it will take to start with Flutter? I'd say go through like from. I have shown you the roadmap, right? So, cover all those points uh, in a month, or let's say if you take 2 months, also that's also fine. If you have little bit of time, you would be able to complete within a month, so that's not a question. And after that, if you are like people, when you are starting for a job, going for an interview in a job, let's say you don't have any experience, you're a fresher, right? People won't be expecting from you that you would be expert in Flutter. You know a little bit of Flutter, you have done something, you have your projects ready, you can explain those, that's it. So maybe beginner to intermediate level is fine for you if you are starting starting out, just starting out, or going for internship.
Okay, the next question is what happens when my mobile OS updates and introduces new platform capabilities?
Sorry, I didn't. What happens when my mobile OS updates and introduces new platform capabilities? That's
Yeah.
fine. Like your OS can update yourself, and even if like if you want to use those capabilities, you have to do another app release, so that you can use those. So yeah. So it's not gonna break your application actually.
One person is asking what would be the top three tips of getting most of this course. Like I believe he's trying to refer the Flutter Festival for the course theme.
Okay. Okay. So whatever you would be learning every day in Flutter Festival, right? Try to practice those. Also, let's say if you are creating an application in Flutter Festival, right? Beside that, also you try something on your own, something that you find is very cool or passionate. Some application that you find, okay, fine. Oh, this application is very nice. Can I mimic this? So you can do that. So so when I was starting out, so I actually created a clone of Google Pay before even it was they decided to move their application to Flutter, right? So my first application was to mimic Google Pay, because I wanted to do that scratch card animation. So that was pretty cool for me. So you can pick something out, that's the way you'd be learning. So also like have little bit of knowledge on Firebase. So when you are in ideal scenario, when you are going in a big company working there, right, you won't be writing some backend code, but it's better to have that understanding of everything, right, to know how a application is working from A to Z. So that knowledge you should have. Third thing is like whatever you create, right, just publish that to Play Store or App Store, whatever you prefer, because that is the proof that you have created that application. And if you go from scratch to like publishing one application to App Store, that actually is a pretty great achievement.
The next question is a little bit towards the code side. So,
Okay.
Aniket is asking in the lib folder how to make multiple files other than the main.dat and connected with each other, and when it is required to create multiple files in lib folder.
In leaf folder, how to make multiple files other than main.dart and connect it to each other when it's required. You can create a lot of files inside your leaf folder. So that's, I think I'm understanding it wrong. So from main.dart, let's say there is a folder for the context for everybody. There is a folder called lib folder, right, and there is something called main.dart. So that from there Flutter actually starts executing the code, right. So there, let's say you want to have the home page, right, so you can create a home page inside lib folder, and from main.dart you can give the reference to it. And when you are writing your material app and you're providing that widget right there as a home, you can connect that. I'm not sure if you are asking that, but yeah, I understood that only.
Okay. The next question is how to remove white splash screen in Flutter.
This is actually pretty technical, so you can connect with me. What I actually face this thing when you are starting out, like when you're starting your application, you'd be seeing a white splash screen. So that you have to actually add a splash screen on your own to sort of remove that. Talk to me. Like I'll be able to show you some like hacks to remove this.
The next question is why Dart is used in Flutter and not any other language.
The advantage of Dart is just what I was saying, right? So Dart has two type of compiler, just-in-time compiler and ahead-of-time compiler, right? The main advantage of Dart is that only. So let's say just-in-time compiler helps when let's say you are writing some code quickly, you want to see in your emulator, right? So at that time Dart is compiling. So just-in-time compiler is like working there. And also there is something called hot loading and hot restarting, right. So what hot loading happens, let's say you have different, let's say 3 4 screens, right. You started with your login screen, then you are in home page. Let's say you're browsing products in Amazon, right. You started from login screen, then you are on product screen. You like added some product, and then you are on the cart screen, and then inside cart screen you are changing some UI, right. When you are doing that, let's say when I'm rebuilding, I should not go back to the login screen and log in again and go to the cart page, right? So at this time, just in time compiler works, and you would be basically there on the cart screen, and you would be like seeing all those changes, whatever you're writing code, and we'd be seeing all those UI in your emulator without even go through the entire process. So that's where just in time compiler works. That is an advantage. Another one was ahead of time compiler, right. So that actually makes your application quite understandable to the devices that you are creating the application for, like Android or iOS. So ahead of time compiler would be compiling everything like before even you run the application, like to APK or IPA, so that you don't have to have a bridge to talk to or like like that only. Another thing that is pretty important is Dart has a tree shaking algorithm. So I'd say what that is. So let's say you have in Flutter we use a lot of party libraries, right? So when you are, let's say, using a lot of third party libraries, now those third party libraries would have lot of code. Now all those code you don't need in your application when you are building the apk, building your application, right, or compiling your application. So what Dart does is whatever code you have actually used in your application, Dart takes only that. Other things, it actually uses the tree shaking mechanism to just like the like when you shake a tree, all the leaves which are like bad would be falling out, right? So it actually uses that sort of algorithm to take only whatever is needed, and so that your app is light when you are building it. So these are some reasons why Flutter users start.
The next question is, can we use Flutter to make AR and VR applications?
Yeah, you can do. There are some packages, and also your phone should have a like AR kit. Yeah, it is possible. So you can check out. There is one plugin that I have not worked with AR/VR in a long time, but yeah, there is one. And also when like in 2018 we won a hackathon, Flutter hackathon, first ever international hackathon. We actually used AR/VR in Flutter.
The next question is it worth to learn Flutter with Udacity?
I actually have not tried Udacity. I think I have tried once, but I would say if you are I would say start with flutter.dev. No, so I have gone through different courses, but at the end, what I feel is whatever I have learned on my own is best. So like if you're totally like you don't have you cannot wrap your head around any of the ideas, any of the like the sort of components of Flutter, and you are like totally scattered in your mind, then start with a course. Other than that, I think if you make a plan and then start doing all those things, checking the to-do list, it would be better for you.
The next question says, the person is asking, ma'am, can I please apply for a intern, for to be an intern under you?
Uh, okay, so I am not taking interns, but there is a plan. There is a plan which is going on. I cannot actually reveal that, but it would be pretty good that I can say for sure. So yeah, check out the social media handles of mine. Those that will be announced. But yeah, of course, there is a plan.
Which is better for beginners, Flutter, React Native, or Xamarin? I cannot pronounce it. I
Xamarin,
Xamarin,
yeah,
I
Xamarin
suppose
I
Xamarin.
have
Yeah.
not tried, but Xamarin is not that popular nowadays. There were a lot of flaws in Xamarin, so I would say start with Flutter. If you are not also like if you want to try out both, that's best, because as like you also like if you are giving the technology a little bit of time, those time would be pretty precious, right? So you should not if you're not liking the technology, you should not waste your time. So I would say start with Flutter. I think you would be finding very useful. If not, React Native would be the next choice.
This person is asking that what would be your thoughts on learning some UX and UI beforehand while making an app with more features?
Learning to create some UI UX. Okay, I am sure he's talking about creating some design on Figma or something. Okay, so you can actually totally do that. Uh, but I would say, let's say, like what I generally do is if I want to create some component, I go to Dribble, the first thing I do, or any other UI where you can see a little bit of UI stuff. and get inspired from that, because like as a developer I am a very bad designer. So if I go towards like get some inspiration, then like, that's good, because I need to know all the options that's there. I need to know how applications are nowadays, how the button is nowadays in applications, how the button is, or it's how is it looking, or how the feed is looking right now, so that I don't create some rectangular boxes all over applications. So yeah, if you want, you can learn, but that's not actually pretty much needed.
The next question says, what is Flutter attach command used for, and how I can run Flutter project without installing VS Code build tools, as Flutter Doctor always asks for it to be installed for running the project.
Okay. First question, right? Flutter attach. I actually not sure. I'm not sure what Flutter attach does. I need to check. I think it. I'm not sure, but I think it does something with some tools or something. Like I'm not sure. But the next thing is, how can Flutter project run without installing VS Code build tools? As Flutter Doctor always asks for it to be installed in the running project. You Okay, so you can like send me what Flutter Doctor actually tells you the entire log, but I have installed VS Code. I did not get this actually. And if you don't like VS Code, you can do it this with Android Studio, because I have recently faced some issues in VS Code, though I really like VS Code, but still there's some issues there. Also
Uh,
send the log. I'll be taking a look at it. I'm not sure what you're actually trying to say.
Further, I'd like to club two questions.
Yeah.
The first question is, can you tell some tips to reduce the app size, because a simple calculator app is 34 MB? And the next question is that I have tried making a simple app on Flutter a few days back, and it just had the photo of the user and the contact details, but the APK size was 70 MB. Why Flutter apps are so large in size?
This is a pretty common sort of misunderstanding. So let's say when you are trying out your application, right? If it is in debug mode, when you are trying out and creating the built-in debug mode, there your application would be large in size. But if you are applying creating that in release mode, the application size actually reduces pretty much. And also, um, our Unicars app has like lot of features, and it's not even 34 MB. Like it's very less than that. So like you are doing something wrong, or there can be another reason. Let's say when you are trying to sort of create the APK check, if you are creating for let's say there are like three types of ARM the Android sort of thing. So let's say you are creating for 86, like cross 86 or cross 64 or whatever there is. So there can be three types of, so probably your app is not 34, it's divided by 3. So check that out. Sometimes we create AAB, which actually has all those three APKs included. So that probably is increasing your application. The photo that you are seeing, that user photo and contact details, should not be 70 MB at all. Check if your photo is too much, how much MB it is. It's check that, and also try to create the app in release mode. Always create the app is in release mode to check the size, not in debug mode.
Okay, so I suppose that's it with the questions, and we don't have any further questions. So, uh,
Sure.
we planned a Kahoot quiz, and I'd like all the organizers and ma'am, you also, to join the quiz and play with us and our audience. Um, so the quiz will be going like this. You have to go to www.kahoot.it, and what you have to do is you have to enter the game pin, and you can enter the lobby, and we all are waiting for all the players, or simply you can scan the QR code from the screen, and you'll be into, the lobby. So yeah. People who are watching this can start joining. The link to Kahoot.it is in the comments. We'll wait for 1 more minute and then we'll begin with the quiz. Guys, show some enthusiasm and spam the chat box that you have entered. I think we should begin. People are still joining.
I think we should start the quiz now.
Yeah, we are starting. So we have our first question. So only 9 people have answered it correctly, and after even this insightful session, people are still confused who developed Flutter. So we shall move to the next question. With Divyani on the top of the scoreboard, I also got to know about that Flutter is open source in today's event after Ma'am's talk. So yeah, moving forward to the scoreboard, moving towards the next question. With maximum correct answers and Aditya on the top of the scoreboard. We shall move to the next question. I believe this is a tricky question.
And I think this question has been covered by the presentation by ma'am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the streak has broken, and someone else is on the top of the scoreboard. Moving towards the next question. Oh, ma'am has really given such an insightful information to all the audience, and all the answers are correct. So, moving towards the next question. Oh, we will have to see the scoreboard first. To the next question. Again, with maximum correct answers. Our audience have learned a lot from today's session, I believe. And tables have turned, and Angela is on the top of the scoreboard. Again, maximum correct answers. Just a moment before we continue. The chat is spamming that questions are not visible. Like, Angela, can you please confirm that is the issue to you also? Uh,
No, I think the question and the options are clearly visible now from my side.
So I think people are a little confused on. They should see the screen for questions, and for answer they should do in the Kahoot.
Yeah, that is
yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, move it towards the next question. I believe there is some problem towards your end, whoever is facing this issue, and you have to see questions on the screen and the options on the Kahoot. Okay, moving forward to the next question. This was the major doubt that got cleared today after the session. So yeah, I believe now everyone have learned that Flutter app itself is a widget. Moving forward, ma'am topping and leading on the scoreboard. So many people were worried about why Python is not used in Flutter, and so we have a question for the audience. So many correct answers. And now we will move towards the last question of the quiz. So let's see who wins. The easiest question, even with the hint, yet so many wrong answers. Still, this was the wrap up for the quiz, and we have Andres on the third position, Ma'am on the second position, and Angela on the first position out of the quiz. Runner ups are Costume and Virus. I don't know whose username it is.
It was
I'll
fun.
also like to give a shout out to Andres because he have answered all the questions correctly. Mm. I suppose we should wrap up today's event, and that's it for today. Again, we like to thank Google Developer Student Club and all the clubs that collaborated with us, and Codeflow and Ma'am for being such an amazing speaker today and for providing such insightful information to us. And we cannot wait to have more sessions with you and more information regarding Flutter. Over
Thanks.
to you,
Uh,
Angela.
yeah, it was actually quite fun speaking. So yeah, the main Kahoot thing was actually pretty good, and I think people actually enjoyed it. Also, like, thanks for having me. I am looking forward to tomorrow's session on Dart because so many people have asked about Dart. So you can join tomorrow's session about Dart to see like if you really like it or like it's pretty difficult for you.
We cannot wait to have you, ma'am, tomorrow. Same time, same channel, and we'll meet you all. Signing up from Google's Developer Student Club. That's it for today.
Thank you everyone for joining in.